Good morning to all the healthy foodies out there. This is Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast dedicated to one thing to learn and apply to eat better daily. I'm your host, Angela Shurina from Create Yourself That Today, your personal nutritionist, your personal health and wellness coach, your personal fat loss guru, food detective, and diet inspector, and just someone with a lot of passion and obsession for healthy eating, nutrition, diets, fat loss, intermittent fasting, keto diets, low carb diets, and any diets that appear in our healthy eating, healthy food world. Obsessed and passionate about everything and anything we put on our plates and in our mouth in order to hopefully feel great, look amazing, and perform the best on all levels, mentally and physically. Today, we continue our conversation about fasting myth or outdating fasting beliefs. And in particular, we are talking about intermittent fasting, not so much about prolonged fasting when you go without food or any kind of calories and nutrition for 3, 4, 5, 7 days. No, we are talking about fasting that all of us should be doing regularly in one form or the other. So again, intermittent fasting, to get the benefits of it when it comes to gut health, to your digestion, to metabolic health, everyone should be doing at least 12 hours a day, meaning you should be without any kind of nutrients coming in for 12 hours, and that includes your overnight sleep. So, for example, if you finish your last meal of the day at 8 p.m., then next meal of the day should be no earlier than 8 a.m. And people who do not do that kind of fasting, even if they eat really healthy, they still seem to experience digestive issues, gut health issues, metabolic issues. They gain fat and weight easily. Not easily, but easier if compared to people who fast regularly. And of course, if you do fasting for more time a day, for example, instead of 12 hours, you do 14 hours or 16 hours or even more. For me, sometimes these days it's 18 hours. Plus, a lot of times it ends up being 20 or 22 hours. Anyway, the benefits of fasting seem to increase with the amount of hours you fast regularly. Today, we continue talking about the myth and beliefs that people have around fasting. And if you haven't checked it out yet, check out episode yesterday where we talked about different fasting myths, like that you need to eat protein every 2-3 hours to maintain muscle mass or build muscle tissue, that you're somehow going to be tricked into starvation mode if you don't eat every 2-3 hours, or that eating smaller meals keeps your hunger under control and your blood sugar stable. Although all those are myths, and check out the episode yesterday to learn more about them. Today we continue the conversation about fasting myth, and first myth to debunk is fasting causes muscle loss. Intermittent fasting, again, we are talking about intermittent fasting, so fasting for longer periods of time during the day, every day, not about fasting for 5 or 7 days, right? So fasting does not cause muscle loss. Intermittent fasting does not cause muscle loss. Even the most fast digested protein powders, like whey protein powder, for example, is released into bloodstream with the speed of 10 grams per hour. So, for example, if you take 50 grams of whey protein, then it's going to be released for another like 5 hours probably. Might be a little bit faster. If you take casein protein powder, that is, casein is a milk protein derived from dairy products. Then that's going to be released for 7-8 hours depending on the amount and the kind of that protein. If you take a regular meal with whole food protein that, for example, comes from beef or chicken or fish, and you eat considerable amount, even if you eat any amount, it's going to be released much slower than those protein powder that we just talked about. And for a regular meal, the amino acids, the proteins, are going to be released into your bloodstream for another like 16-20 hours. So you're not really even going to be in a completely fasted state if you consider the rate of amino acid or protein release into your bloodstream. Yes, your digestive system is probably going to be done with that, but they're still going to be released into your bloodstream gradually. So you're not even really fasting after 16 hours of not eating your protein. So your muscles, there is no need for your body to break down muscles. And in general, guys, you want to understand that muscle breakdown happens only after a prolonged period of fasting, usually during starvation or if you are under chronic stress all the time. So that way your body can start breaking down your muscle tissue, because muscle tissue, especially if you weight train, it's a tissue that your body will try to preserve as much as possible, and only in extreme conditions of real starving for several days your body might start to break down your muscle tissue. So again, protein is released into bloodstream very slowly, especially from whole food meals, and there is no need for your body to break down your own muscle mass. Myth number 7 or number 2 today: skipping breakfast is bad and will make you fat. So you might have heard that people who eat breakfast tend to be leaner and tend to be healthier and tend to have better control of their hunger throughout the day and eat less. But all this is bullshit. And usually it's based on observational studies. Basically, they observe people who eat breakfast and who don't eat breakfast. And by the count of heads, people who don't eat breakfast end up being overweight or not as healthy as people who eat breakfast regularly. But causation is not correlation, meaning usually people who skip breakfast and who have, really like random eating habits, those are the people who go on a weird diets, really restrictive diets, who have health and weight problems in the first place and trying to skip as many meals as possible. And usually people who have problems with weight, with fat, big problems, with obesity, different problems with hunger control, those people usually tend to have enough willpower to skip breakfast, and then they start eating all the calories and nutrition that they didn't eat for breakfast throughout the day. Do you know someone like that who's like, oh, in the morning I'm gonna be on a diet of 800 calories a day and eat nothing but apples, and that lasts usually till lunch, and that's why they skip breakfast and stay on a fatter side, because again, they skip breakfast and then have like weird eating habits during the day, whereas people who usually eat breakfast, they tend to be good eaters with good eating habits, working out, getting up early. So that's why it might seem like skipping breakfast makes you fat, but I've been skipping breakfast in a traditional sense for like, I don't know how many months and years. My first food always after workout, and these days it happens around 12 p.m. And that's my breakfast when I break the fast. And I'm just getting leaner, because my eating habits are good, and eating breakfast does not make anyone fat. complete bullshit. Another myth or belief that you might have heard or you might have it is fasting increases cortisol. And cortisol, we know, or maybe you might not know, it's a stress hormone and associated with elevated levels of cortisol are associated with increased chronic stress levels. And cortisol, it's a steroid hormone that maintains blood pressure, that helps regulate immune system, but also it helps to break down proteins, glucose, and lipids for fuel. And in the morning, cortisol levels are always elevated, and that wakes us up, makes us get going and get us out of bed, and it helps to break down again protein, glucose, and lipids to give us necessary energy and drive to start the day, to go and hunt. Also, cortisol levels are acutely elevated, meaning they spike during exercise, and that is a great thing because that cortisol levels also increases our performance and helps us to metabolize fats and other fuel sources to increase the intensity of the workout. And people, some data on the internet suggest that fasting can increase cortisol, and basically that will lead to increased breakdown of muscles and protein, and you can, start losing muscle mass and get fatter. But in reality, cortisol is chronically elevated only when you are under chronic stress conditions or when you're starving for several days, and several days meaning more than 3 days. Let me see how many hours exactly. 3-4 days, that's what it takes for your cortisol to get even slightly elevated because of fasting and because of depletion of your glycogen stores and your fuel stores in general. So intermittent fasting does not increase cortisol. If anything, it actually lowers it because fasting promotes regulated fasting promotes more of a calmness and mental state when you feel like you're well and at peace, and it regulates your blood sugar, helps to regulate your blood sugar, and helps to stabilize your metabolism, breaking down fuels more in a more controlled manner. Basically, fasting does not increase cortisol. Fasting, intermittent fasting, control fasting versus starvation does not increase your stress levels. It can actually help you to manage your stress levels. Starvation diets can increase your cortisol for if you're doing those starvation diet for a prolonged period of time, not like fasting for a day and then eating the next day. That does nothing to your cortisol levels. And cortisol again levels have its natural cycle, meaning it's elevated in the morning to get us going, and then it gradually slows down and decreases at night, and melatonin increases, that makes us sleepy. So all this happening, but fasting does not increase your chronic stress levels or your cortisol levels. Another myth is fasted training or workouts sucks and you lose muscles and you have no strength. When it comes to muscles, we already talked about that protein is released from whole food sources very slowly, and it's just impossible for your body to start breaking out your muscles because the fuel is still coming in. Why would it? And training studies and my personal experience show that weight training, anaerobic training during the periods of short fasting, even to 3.5 days of fasting, there is no effect on performance. In fact, I can attest that from personal experience and work with a lot of clients that your performance in the gym and your weights can actually increase, and it's going to be easier to work out in a fasted state. Of course, if you have healthy metabolism, if you're diabetic or have some problems with your blood sugar that needs to be maintained and regulated, that's completely another story. But for an average human being with a pretty healthy metabolism, fasting makes working out easier. And when it comes to strength training, you seem to get more strength, not less of it. Fasting does seem to decrease your performance, your aerobic performance, meaning if you decide to go for a long run or you decide to do sprinting when your body needs fast fuel available at the top, right there, right then, really fast. And for most people, glucose is metabolized for most of cardio and high intensity interval kind of training, meaning, there are also people, a lot of you guys are listening to this podcast, keto adapted, fat adapted, when your body is used to using mostly fat for fuels. That's also another story. Like, I personally do a lot of sprint training, during my daily fasts, and even if I do prolonged fasts, and I do not notice any real decrease in my performance. Of course, when it comes to 5 and 7 days, that's completely different story. But again, intermittent fasting does not decrease your strength, does not decrease your performance. And if you are keto adapted and you've been on a ketogenic diet for a while, fasted training does not decrease any kind of performance, because your body just switches from burning fats from your food to burning fat from your own stores. So that's it for today, guys. We busted a few fasting myths and upgraded your intermittent fasting beliefs. So go and fast safely, and you can train during fasting, and you're not going to lose any muscles. In fact, your body will try to preserve as much as possible during short fast, and you don't have to eat your breakfast. You're not going to get fat because of that. Skipping breakfast is not does not cause fat gain or anything like that. I've been a breakfast skipper for most of my life, probably. Fasting does not increase your stress levels. If anything, it helps to manage your stress. And again, I'm talking here about a short period of daily intermittent fastings and not about starvation. And also, all the information that we talked about in this episode and the episode yesterday, it's related to people with healthy metabolism, meaning your blood sugar is under control, your body is able to control it, you're not diabetic, you're not on some kind of blood sugar medication, you don't have serious chronic conditions, because all of that will change everything that I say a lot, and that will depend on individual case. But yes, all the information that is presented here is for relatively healthy people who just want to do intermittent fasting, do it properly, and get all the benefits of it, and maybe are afraid to start intermittent fasting because of myths like you're gonna lose muscle or you're gonna get fat because your body will go in some starvation mode that doesn't even have real definition, or that your body is not going to have enough protein to synthesize muscle tissue, and we learned that is complete bullshit, because your body releases amino acids or proteins into your bloodstream for another 16 to 24 hours sometimes after your last protein-rich meals, depending how much of that protein in your meal. So start fasting, guys. It's an amazing practice. It's going to improve your digestive health, your gut health. It's going to make you into more effective and efficient fat burning machine, because your body has to learn how to burn those fats when you don't eat for prolonged periods, because glycogen stores are limited. So your body needs to start, learning how to break down fats. And plus, if you don't fast, your body can only at one point in time burn for fuel either glucose that's circulating in your bloodstream or fats. And usually in your bloodstream, the amount of glucose or the amount of basically fuel from your last meal is depleted only like in 8 hours or something, where your body actually has to utilize and can utilize some of your own fat. So if you don't fast, you're not that effective at burning your own fats, and in fact you might be actually losing more muscles and preserving more fat if you're not fasting enough. And enough again, at least 12 hours a day. Better results if you do it for 14 and 16 hours, and of course the best results if you do it in the way that you can maintain, because even the best fasting protocol, if you cannot maintain it, and it makes your eating habits worse, and it makes you binge and eat all kinds of stupid foods that no human being should be eating, then you're just not going to get the benefits of that. So always create the protocol, the routine that works for you, and you can stick with it. That's the most important part I want you to kind of take away into the weekend, and have a healthy weekend. I love to fast on Sunday, so you might join my fast and share your journey on social media, on Instagram. Tag me to your fasting posts. And happy fasting, guys. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing weekend, and I'll talk to you next week about other fascinating subjects in diet, nutrition, healthy food, fat loss, and so many fascinating subjects these days in food industry, in diet industry, and fields. So guys, again, thank you for listening. Love you all, and till next time, fast if you can, or just eat healthy food.